Assalamu alaikum. Today we will be performing the unconsolidated undrained triaxial compression test. This test is quite similar in methodology to the unconfined compression test. However, there are a few key differences between the two, and I will be highlighting them as we go through the process of the performance. For today's experiment, we need 3 samples of soil. Each of these containers have 167.5 grams of the same kind of soil, and each will be mixed with 17.5 milliliters of water. This will mean that when the cylinders are made, they will be nearly identical in moisture and density. We will be using the same mold that we used in the previous experiment of UCT, which will give us cylinders of 1.5 inch diameter and 3 inch height. Because it was covered in the previous video, I will be skipping the process of making the cylinder. Over here we have 3 cylinders, each weigh between 180 and 182 grams, so they're all roughly the same density and at the same moisture content. So now we will be placing these inside the triaxial shear apparatus and be performing triaxial compression test on each of these. Okay, this is the lower platen or so, and the upper platen. Now we will pick up this casing and place it over it, making sure not to disturb our soil sample. Then we will align these marks on the base and the upper side of the casing. Once these are aligned, we can fit in our screws. All these screws are tightened, we can rest assured that our cell is airtight. And now there are 2 ways we can apply cell pressure or sigma 3 to this container. One way is filling the chamber with water and then using air pressure from behind, we can apply pressure on that water to raise the internal atmospheric pressure in the chamber. The other way is we can just use air. Air will be fed into this chamber via this pipe, and from this other pipe it's connected to this gauge over here, and this gauge will let us know what the pressure is inside the chamber. So if we start rotating this knob over here, as you can see, the needle is starting to move, which means that the pressure is rising in the chamber. So for the first trial, we will make sigma 3 equal to 50 kPa. Once the desired pressure, chamber pressure is achieved of 50 kPa, we can raise our mold up to the piston. Our soil sample is slowly rising up to the piston level. And once it starts to take load, we'll just stop the assembly so that we can set it all on 0. So once it has started to take load, we will turn the machine off pressing the red button, and then we will set our dial gauges to 0. So our assembly over here is nearly identical to that of unconfined compression test. In unconfined compression test, however, sigma 3 was equal to 0. Here, it is equal to 50 kilopascals for this trial using this cylinder. For the other two cylinders, we will be using 100 kilopascals and 150 kilopascals. Pressing the green up button, we start the compressive load being applied to the soil, and when the deflection dial gauge is 10, our reading on the load dial gauge is 2. At 20, it's 8. At 30, it's 12. At 40, it's 21. At 50, it's 28. At 60, it's 35. At 70, it's 42. At 80, it's 49. At 90, it's 54. At 100, it's 60. At 110, it's 62. At 120, it's 65. At 130, it's still 65. And now it's dropping, so failure has been reached. Then at the end of our test, each trial, we will then release the chamber pressure. And once it comes down to 0, we can unclamp the screws and open the chamber. For our second cylinder of soil, we will raise the cell pressure up to 100 kilopascals as sigma 3. And once the gauge shows that 100 kPa has been achieved, we will then set the dial gauges to 0. At 10, our low dial gauge reading is 1. At 20, it's 2. At 30, it's also 2. It's 2.5. At 40 it's 3. At 50 it's 3.5. At 60 it's 4. At 70 it's 6. At 80 it's 9. At 90 it's 11. At 100 it's 14. At 110 it's 18. At 120 it's 20. At 130 it's 25. At 140 it's 28. At 150 it's 35. At 160 it's 38. At 170 it's 42. At 180 it's 47. At 190 it's 51. At 200 it's 55. At 210 it's 59. At 220 it's 62. At 230 it's 65. At 240 it's 68. 250 it's still 68, and now it's beginning to drop, so failure has reached. For our third trial, we will raise the cell pressure to 150 kilopascals to sigma 3 for our third soil cylinder. At 10, our lower dial gauge reading is 5. At 20, it's 10. At 30, it's 12. At 40, it's 18. At 50, it's 25. At 60, it's 30. At 70, it's 34. At 80, it's 40. At 90, it is 44. At 100, it's 51. At 110, it's 55. At 120, it's 61. At 130, it's 63. At 140, it's 68. At 150, it's 72. At 160, it's 76. And at 170, it's still 76. And now it's begun to drop. So failure stage has happened. Once we're done with our triaxial unconfined, unconsolidated undrained test, we will take these samples for moisture content determination.